Hello, I will present you my term project in this video. Supergrow is a smart plant monitoring system which aims to watch the vitals of a plant and provide necessary needs of the plant. The system collects temperature, light and humidity data from the sensors and exports these values to a mobile application powered by Blink to let users monitor the vitals of the plant and let them intervene with the system whenever they want. So plants are living creatures and they don't do anything if the environment is not optimal to live in. So here are the questions I ask myself whenever I work with the plants. So obviously the main question would be, does my plant happy with its life? And it may get deeper with, is the soil wet enough, or is the lightning enough, or is the temperature too hot for it? Since we can't understand these parameters with just our eyes, I got motivated to develop my term project in this way. With supergrow, I'm able to see my plant's vitals and control them whenever and however I want. So let's take a look at the system design. I can summarize the design in two main topics. There's a pump and a fan, and these two motors start working if the sensor read values are not in the desired range. Also, users can start the fan and the water pump manually directly from the Blink app, which I will show you later on, whenever they want to. So these are my hardware inventory. I didn't use all of them, but there were like always under my hand. So the ones I use for these projects are a microcontroller, a motor driver, a light sensor, temperature and humidity sensor, and soil moisture sensor. And there are also side components, which are the fan, as you can see here, a water pump, and breadboards, resistors, etc. So here is the data flow diagram for my term project. There are three main values, which are humidity, temperature, and light. All these values get read from the sensors and their information gets provided to the respective part of the system. Then measured values and desired values gets compared and the system decides if it should run the motors or not. Control flow diagram says basically the same thing. There are two main operators or operations, and all these operations work in parallel. These operations compare the measured values and desired values, just like I said. So let's see the implementation. This is the implementation of the system hardware-wise. Image on the left is the overview of the whole system, and the picture in the middle contains the breadboard, microcontroller, temperature and humidity sensor, and the pins of the soil moisture sensor, not all of it. So the last image on the right shows the plant side of the system, which contains the sensor part of the soil and moisture sensor here, and light sensor at the bottom, fan, water pump behind the plant in the glass of water, and the motor driver at the most right. So this is the setup function of my code, which basically starts the system, starts the LEDs for the Blink app, and makes sure that motors are closed at the beginning, so we won't face any unexpected outcomes. And at the end, it calls the sensor communication function, sensor com function, in every second. So this is a sensor communication function. So at this screenshot, it reads values from the sensors first, and then it checks if there were like no problems while reading the values from the sensors. And at the end, it prints the red values to the console, which I will show you at my demo. So here it basically does this code block, like it colors the LEDs on Blink app depending on the values received from the sensors and compares the red value with the desired value. So this is the loop function. It just basically starts a Blink app at the timer so the whole system can start working. And the last four lines of code, digital write lines, are just opening the motors and they're not in the real implementation. This is just for the test. So this button controls, they are not in a function, so they simply obviously controls the pump and the fan depending on the button's values on Blink app. Like if button is on in the Blink app, fan and pump starts working, and they have both separate buttons on the app. Now let's take a look at my demo video. There's my microcontroller at the top of my breadboard, which is connected to my computer to get power up. And at the bottom there's my temperature and humidity sensor, and at the middle there's my soil and moisture sensor, which is connected directly to the plant. I also have my light sensor here, which is just ahead of my plant, and the rest part of my soil and moisture sensor, just like in the picture I just showed you. And there's my fan and the water pump behind the plant here, which is inside of a glass of water. And this is my motor driver to control my fan and pump. And at this screen you can show my code on the left hand side, and at the middle there is the console output I've been mentioning, and these values gets updated in every second. And according to these values, like there's my Blink application on the right hand side, and according to these values the LEDs on the top of my Blink application gets changed, let's say. So now the light sensor is closed and the light level LED turned out to be black. And when I just open it, it just turns back to the white color. So here my fan is not working, it's not doing anything, and at the bottom of the screen here on my Blink application there are two buttons, one for the pump and one for the fan, and when I click them the fan and the pump starts working or stops working depending on the values here. And at the middle of the screen, as you can see, there's an output for my humidity and temperature values, which are again directly read from the sensors. So just like I said, when I click the fan button, it's on and the fan is on. And when I click it again, obviously it will stop. And the same thing just works for the pump. When I just click it, the pump pours water to the plant,